Hey guys, this is my first video. Excuse the mess. I have been working since 8 o'clock this morning, and I just decided that right now my kids are asleep. It would be a good time to start my first video. So, what my channel is going to be about is parenting with mental illness. I feel like this is a very important topic because as a parent with a mental illness, some days are hard. Some days there's no reason, they're just hard. And so the name I chose for this channel is Circle Parenting. And the reason I chose that name is because if you don't take care of yourself and you continue just to let the hard days get harder and never let the easy days just be easy, because maybe you overthink, maybe you get stressed about every little thing that's going on, it can cause the circle to come back and start again. And it's just really important to kind of create a community around yourself of how to combat those issues. So for me, I will be 25 January 31st, and I am diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I have 3 small children, ages 3, 4, and 5. My 5-year-old has a very rare heart defect. He has had 3 open heart surgeries. So due to that, he spent his first 2 years of his life in a hospital bed. Now, he's my stepson, but I've been around since he was a year old. And with all of the tubes and the medications and just the difficulties in and out of the hospital all the time, he is behind other children his age. He will be 6 in May. My son, who is 4, he's my biological child. He has, I'm pretty sure he has ADHD, maybe some other things going on. So I am a parent with a mental illness of children who have mental illnesses. So some days can be really trying. Some days, it's really hard. And I've learned recently, thanks to my good friend Waynette and Jeannie Whitecraft, who done my RAP facilitating trainer, to learn that it is okay sometimes to take my cape off as a mom, that sometimes I don't have to do it all. That was really hard for me. When I went to that training, I was away from my kids for a week. That is the longest I've ever been away from my kids. Back in 2017, I was septic, and I was really sick. They almost put me in ICU in a medicated coma. Luckily, they didn't, but I was still in the hospital for a week and a half, but my children were still able to come see me. This training that I went on, I was gone for a week, and that is the longest I've ever went without seeing my kids. And it was hard, and there were several tears shed, because one of my biggest coping skills that I use are my children. They are my world, they are my life, I live and breathe for them. So, I guess I'll just start, the way I found recovery. So, I started abusing drugs and alcohol when I was 12 years old. I started experimenting, and my experimentation led to not just marijuana, but I was into some of the harder stuff like Xanax, methadone, oxycodone, opioids, anything I could get my hands on. When I was 19, I found out I was pregnant with my son. His biological father walked out on me, and at that point in life, I knew. I was like, okay, so I can either continue doing this and lose my child, lose everything, or I can just get clean. So that's what I done. I chose to get clean for my child. And I often say that my son, my 4-year-old, he was my guardian angel sent. God sent him to me for a reason. That's just because if it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably still be getting high or whatever may be. But I still wasn't really in recovery. I was living a sober life, but I wasn't in recovery. In 2014, I gave birth to him. I suffered really bad from postpartum depression, and I didn't know what it was at the time. Because with my son, I had to be with him. If I didn't have my eyes on him, then it was kind of just like I went into a panic attack. I had an anxiety attack. Although I had to be with him at all times, I had to have my eyes on him at all times, I still would often think, well, he'd just be better if I just laid him down for bed and left. He would have a better life, he's better off without me, like, I just need to run away and give this child the life he deserves. I didn't do that. In 2015, I had my daughter. She is 3. And after I had her, I suffered from postpartum depression again, but this time it was worse. I remember she would not sleep. We went about 2 months without a single full night's rest. And it was like this till she was about 1.5 years old. And I remember one night, she was crying, wouldn't go to sleep. We were probably on like our 4th or 5th night with no sleep. She would take little naps here and there, but she never really slept. And she was crying, and I just laid her down on the bed with her crying, and I started crying. And my fiance, he walked in the room, and he was like, "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" And I was just like, "I want to die. Just let me die. It would just be easier for everybody if I wasn't here." And he gave me 3 options. He was like, 1, you can call tomorrow and make an appointment with a therapist. 2, I can call and make you an appointment with a therapist. Or 3, I can call and have you involuntarily committed. And the reason he gave me those options is because he worked for a local mental health center. And by law, that's what he had to do. Well, the next day I went ahead and made my appointment with my therapist. And at first I was kind of ashamed. Like I couldn't do this on my own. I felt like I was a bad mom and all these other things. And then going into therapy, I was like, I don't need medication. I just need to be on. And that worked for a while. And then it got to where it wasn't working. So then I told my therapist, like, I think I need some medication. And so he made me an appointment with the psychiatrist. And I started seeing the psychiatrist, and he put me on Prozac. For me, Prozac worked wonderfully. I will say that I do work at the mental health facility, but I cannot give information like about medication. Just a little legal disclaimer, like this is not to persuade anybody or to tell you what medication you should be on, but for me personally, Prozac really works. And it really helped combat my postpartum depression along with my clinical depression. So as I started doing that, then I started feeling good. Well, like I said, last year, back in October in 2018, I went on that training. And I realized that I was really depending on my children too much for my recovery. Not saying that's a bad thing. I love my kids. I still really feel comforted whenever I'm having a bad day and I can just cuddle up to them. But the biggest thing I learned was that it is okay to take that cape off. I don't have to be super mom all the time. And that was just a huge relief for me. Like, I always thought that I had to do everything. I thought I had to be the one who, kept them going, kept myself going. I always had to put them before myself. And in that training, I learned that it's okay to take some time out and just focus on myself. That doesn't make me a bad mom. That doesn't make me a bad person. My kids are still very well taken care of. But so is their mom. And I think that's one of the most important things when suffering from a mental illness and you become a parent is that sometimes you feel like even though you are sick with an illness that the world can't see, you still have to put everybody's needs before your own. And that's probably the hardest realization I've had in a long time, is that I don't have to be that person. I don't have to be the one who's always putting myself on the back burner. That sometimes it's okay to put myself first, especially on my bad days. I've I've taken some days off work for mental health days. Like I said, I work for the local community health center, and it's just really good to know that if I'm like, okay, I can't do this today, like I can't mentally be here because I can't be the employee, I can't be the person my clients need me to be, then I just need to go home. And I don't do it often, so I don't use it as a crutch. I don't. I've worked for the agency for going on 3 years now. I've only taken 2 mental health days. But there are some days where you just can't. But what I've learned is it's okay to not be okay. But even though you're not okay, there has to be a time when you force yourself to get up. And I always use the phrase like that I have to get up and straighten up my tiara and keep on kicking life's ass. Because that's what we have to do. We have an illness that the world can't see. We have an illness that people feel like doesn't exist sometimes. We deal with the fact that if you go around and you tell people that you have depression or schizophrenia or PTSD or anxiety, they're just like, oh, it's all in your head, it's whatever. But we know it's real. And no matter what the world says, no matter what anybody says, you know it's real and you know how it affects you. So, it's just important. Like I said, this is just the introduction. I'll be covering a bunch of different topics. If you have any topics you'd like to discuss or like for me to maybe research on or maybe just talk about, you can leave those. I hope you all subscribe because I really think that this channel could help a lot of people who have these mental illnesses who feel like they're not normal and they don't deserve to be happy. So it's just important to get the word out there to, everybody's talking about normalizing this or normalizing that. Well, we need to normalize mental health because it is a thing. It does affect people's lives daily. And people don't seem to realize that, and they can be very judgmental. So that's it for this first video. I know it's kind of short. Like I said, it's been a long day. It's like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm a hot mess. I know I am. Welcome to the life of mental illness. See y'all.